Today we are starting predictions, and we're starting with the Texas A&M Aggies. They're going to be the first ones of this long series throughout the offseason, so sit back and enjoy. All right, guys, so like I said, we're going to start the season-long win total prediction type thing throughout the next months, really. And so today we're going to start with Texas A&M. I think it's a good place to start, a team that has very high expectations, but also a really tough schedule. So we're going to have to see kind of how that balances at the end here. But I think for A&M in general, they need to figure out who the quarterback is. LSU transfer Max Johnson is kind of the guy who's coming in, who I believe everyone thinks will be the starter, at least to start the year. But you have Haynes King, who was the starter last year. You have five-star quarterback Connor Weigman. And I think those guys are going to push Max quite a bit. And I think that's going to make things very interesting as the season unfolds. Now, whoever the quarterback is going to have a lot of talent around them. I mean, you look at these two guys, Aniyah Smith and Devon Achane. Those two guys maybe don't get enough kind of publicity from the public. I think they're one of the most dynamic duos in the entire country. They're two guys who can really take any 5-yard completion, take it to the house. In Devon Achane's case, if he just gets a handoff and finds a hole, it's pretty much a touchdown. He's got track speed and is a guy who I think they're going to rely on in a variety of ways. Last year, they had Isaiah Spiller, who was their bell cow running back. And I think next year they're probably going to have to find another bell cow. My anticipation is that it's going to be LJ Johnson. I think he'll kind of be the workhorse, and Achane will get more work this year, but I still think they'll be able to preserve him a little bit as the season progresses. Those two weapons are two guys who I'm absolutely just kind of excited to see on the field together with whoever the quarterback is. I also really like Evan Stewart and Moose Muhammad, two guys at wide receiver who should excel for the Aggies this upcoming season. And I think Evan Stewart in particular gives them kind of what they were missing a year ago, which is a deep play threat, a guy who can really take the top off the defense. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. On the defensive side, Antonio Johnson, Damani Richardson, two of the best safeties in the country. It'll be interesting to see how they use Antonio this season. Could use him at the nickel, bring him closer to line of scrimmage, or keep him at safety and allow him and Damani Richardson to kind of take care of the second half of the field. And I'm really excited to see kind of how they bring it all together this season as one of the most talented safety duos in the entire country. They're deep up front, lots of talent. You're talking about guys like McKinley Jackson, Isaiah Rake, Shamar Turner, Walter Nolan. 5-star pedigree, right? And that's what you want to see up front. Young guys can play early up front if they're really, really talented. And I think that group is talented enough to make up for the fact that they do have some young guys who are going to be playing key roles this upcoming season. At cornerback, I'm excited. I think Miles Jones is a good guy to get back. I think he can come in and add stability to what was a little bit of a shaky unit a year ago. At cornerback, linebacker, still some work to do. I like Edgerrin Cooper as a prospect, but I don't think it's their strongest position by any means. I actually think it's their weakest on the defensive side of the ball. Moving on to their schedule a little bit, this is always going to be a tough schedule. It's the SEC. They play in the SEC West, so you're going to play Bama every single year. And unfortunately for Texas A&M, they go to Alabama this year. For me, that's the one game on this schedule that I would say a game they will probably lose or should lose. I think that fits the description. As far as wins, I see games like Sam Houston, Appalachian State, UMass. Those are guaranteed wins. So that's 3. Then everything else is in this should-win category until I get to the close calls. So should win at Mississippi State, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, Florida, LSU. I think they should win all of those games. A&M's expectations this year are very high. They should be able to go out and get these games done, and it's something that they've really had a problem with throughout the past few years is winning these games that they should win. So we'll see if they can make up for it this upcoming season. Close calls. These are some games that I view as somewhat toss-ups. I think A&M's going to be the favorite in probably all of these, to be honest. But I do think that there are some question marks going into each of these matchups. When you talk about Miami, Arkansas on a neutral site, Ole Miss at Kyle Field, and then at Auburn. Of these games, the Auburn one is probably the one that you would say they definitely should win. But for some reason, A&M and Auburn seem to trade off every single year, winning and losing. I think that game's going to be a little bit tougher than maybe some people think. The other three are very tough, but they are games that A&M should win, right? Like when you look at the grand scheme of things, they're more talented than these teams. They have the size advantage up front on the offensive and defensive lines. But when you look at Miami, you see a team that's got Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback, and he's a difference maker, right? You look at Ole Miss. They have difference makers on offense as well with Jackson Dart at quarterback. It makes things a little bit testy for me and definitely makes me view these games as very close calls going into next season. The over-under for Texas A&M currently is at 8.5 right now. I'm going to take the over. I'm actually confident that Texas A&M is going to go at least 9-3. I think 10-2 is for sure within the realm of possibility, and I also think 11-1 is probably what the fans' expectation are for Texas A&M going into next season. So I'm definitely going to take the over here. I think Texas A&M is actually a pretty good bargain at this number, and I think their win total will be somewhere between 9.5 is where I would personally put it at. So 9-3, 10-2 seems about right for the Aggies in the 2022 season. Expectations are very high, as they always are. Jimbo Fisher has to get it done this year. This is a very important year for him. I think if he fails, goes 8-4 this year, there's going to be a lot of question marks kind of about the entire Texas A&M program. But as of right now, I think things are trending up, and I think they're going to continue to trend up heading into next season. So for this week, this has been Grayson Grunhafer. We're going to talk about more win predictions and season total predictions in the upcoming weeks. But for now, this has been Grayson Grunhafer on CFB with JD.